stole his first term as president. These absolute liars who run around trying to act like they're the protectors of democracy completely ruined it, tried to undermine it at every turn and at the highest levels with lies, with out and out lies that were really serious, and changed foreign policy and changed the course of history in this country in Trump's presidency. And there must be accountability. There has to be actual criminal accountability for those who lied. And I can't wait to see this administration do.
Feelings on this matter. He spoke to all of you yesterday in the Oval Office, but I also spoke to him about this morning. And he wants to see all those who perpetuated this fraud against our country, who betrayed our country and the Constitution, to be thoroughly investigated and held accountable. And it's been 10 years of this, and I would just add,
Barack Obama was once packaged as the golden child of American politics, the man who could stroll into any room and leave even the chandeliers dazzled. He wasn't just presented as a politician, but as brilliance in motion, a visionary wrapped in a tailored suit, someone who supposedly rose above the grind of politics to touch something almost divine. But Megyn Kelly and Karoline Leavitt weren't buying the leftovers of campaign poetry.
Fire that there's a potential, maybe a divorce or some sort of rockiness going on in the Obamas' relationship. They both posted these mirrored, very choreographed Valentine's Day messages on X, but he was just seen at an LA, it's the basketball team, the Clippers. Thank you.
How do you respond?
look, the president has made it clear that he wanted these documents to be declassified. He wanted the American people to see the truth, and now he wants those who perpetuated these lies and this scandal to be held accountable. As for what accountability looks like, as the director said, it's in the Department of Justice's hands, and we trust them to move this ball forward.
Wait for the easiest crack in the facade of the myth of hope and change. Obama once promised unity, peace, and a golden era for America. What followed instead was division dressed up as progress. Drone strikes wrapped in charm, and a domestic landscape more fractured than ever. Kelly didn't need to shout or spin. She simply laid out the receipts, the broken promises, the numbers, the contradictions between sky-high speeches and ground-level results. By the time she was finished, all that soaring rhetoric looked less like vision and more like motivational posters slapped over holes in credibility.
And to your point, Smug, I'm starting to warm up to Michelle Obama's POV. I mean, like, what is he doing?
That's really something. You know, a lot of people can try to be critical of President George W. Bush, but he said numerous times that upon leaving the White House, he saw it as not a respect that wasn't even given to him, of leave with grace, the job is someone else's now.
Yeah.
And like
the kind of thing you do.
Younger and far less interested in the reverence game, came in with the kind of blunt force that shakes even the most carefully polished reputations. She hadn't grown up in the Obama era worshiping him like a cultural icon. To her, he wasn't the cool dad president or a modern JFK. He was just another politician who rode a cult of personality while leaving behind wreckage disguised as progress. And she said it without the polish Kelly sometimes applies. Where Kelly dissected the myth, Leavitt smashed whatever was left. Together, it was a clean one to punch.
Based on everything the director has said and declassified, all of you in this room should go through it and take a look at this report and review the intelligence, because unfortunately that hasn't happened. And many of the people who perpetuated this hoax, Clapper, Andy McCabe, James Comey, and many others, have been hired by major networks in this room to go on television and continue to spew these lies, knowing
the cult of Obama's image quickly became the centerpiece of the take. For years, he was sold as the man who rose above politics, the smooth-talking, visionary fit for murals and Netflix specials. But under scrutiny, that shine crumbled. Kelly highlighted how his presidency was less about leadership and more about brand management. Obama was a marketer first, pitching inspiration like a late-night infomercial. The product, though, felt like ordering a luxury car and ending up with a bicycle missing a tire. He didn't lead, he performed. His legacy wasn't substance, but stagecraft. 8 years that looked more like an audition, real for book tours and streaming deals than the stewardship of a nation.
He was spotted eating out at a fancy dinner in Sherman Oaks with both daughters, Malia and Sasha, but again, no Michelle, according to TMZ. So,
I think they seem to be soft launching their divorce. I mean,
if it were the opposite and all of these rumors are flying, wouldn't they make a concerted effort to be seen together or just absolutely issue a statement?
Arguing that Obama's progress was mostly cosmetic. Yes, he gave soaring speeches. Yes, he made America look stylish again on the world stage. But what did that actually deliver? A foreign policy built on half measures, wars that never ended, and a Middle East left even more unstable. At home, racial divides didn't heal, they deepened. Economic gaps didn't close, they widened. His legacy wasn't real transformation. It was the illusion of it, like painting over cracks in a wall and calling it a renovation. Obama's presidency was more surface than substance.
Contrast in leadership could not be more clear. Barack Obama and Joe Biden sent pallets of cash, American taxpayer dollars, in a failed attempt to buy the Iranian regime's compliance with a weak and ineffective deal. President Trump sent a fleet of American warplanes to destroy Iran's ability to produce a nuclear weapon. The United States and the entire world are safer because of this president.
Kelly's sharpest blade. Obama branded himself as the people's champion, the middle-class defender, the outsider who understood ordinary Americans. Yet for 8 years he surrounded himself with Wall Street bankers, Hollywood elites, and Silicon Valley billionaires. He didn't drain the swamp. He built luxury suites on top of it. Kelly reminded her audience that under Obama, the political class grew richer. The elites cozied up to power, and the very people he claimed to represent were left with higher insurance premiums and fewer opportunities. That wasn't change. It was a stage set rearranging the furniture while leaving the same broken system intact. Leavitt then twisted the knife by mocking Obama's fixation on his own legacy. Post-presidency, he looked less like a statesman and more like a celebrity CEO, cashing in with best-selling memoirs and multi-million-dollar Netflix contracts. He didn't stay relevant by offering new ideas, he stayed relevant by managing his brand. To Leavitt, that wasn't the sign of a great leader but of a man who knew his record couldn't stand without endless self-promotion. Obama wasn't satisfied with leaving office. He wanted to linger as a cultural icon, making sure the myth never faded, even if the reality had already crumbled.
Just now, he was just caught on camera saying, well, we'll play both of them in succession. Let her in.
You should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard. What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up all the way going up to 2020 of the election. They tried to rig the election and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that.
By the time Kelly and Leavitt were done, the myth looked like nothing more than the empty packaging of a product long returned, and the contradictions just kept stacking. Kelly revisited the infamous red line in Obama's bold declaration that collapsed the moment it was tested. It became the perfect metaphor for his presidency. Sweeping statements followed by timid inaction. The world saw the bluff, and America's credibility paid the price. At home, the pattern was the same. Obama sold himself as a champion of transparency, yet his administration spied on journalists and used the IRS to target political opponents. For 8 years, much of the media acted less like watchdogs and more like fan clubs. Late-night hosts treated him like royalty. Hollywood bent over backward to crown him the face of progress. And years later, the same outlets still shield him from serious criticism. Kelly and Leavitt stripped away that protective gloss. What remained wasn't a transformational leader, it was a mediocre presidency dressed up in designer spin. The coverage was never about his record. It was about preserving a narrative that never matched reality.
How off-putting this kind of comment is, but I was like,
I love that summary though, that's so good.
Then you showed up wearing a flannel shirt, and these two things made me pull this soundbite, and it ties in beautifully to the discussion we're having right now. Listen to him.
Tim is the kind of person who should be in politics. Born in a small town, served his country.
What made the demolition hit hardest was its personal edge. Kelly argued that Obama's true gift was never leadership, which was storytelling. He built a persona so polished that millions bought into it without hesitation. But like every great illusion, it depended on an audience willing to suspend disbelief. Years later, the spell has worn off, and once the trick is exposed, it never dazzles the same way again. Together, Kelly and Leavitt delivered more than a critique of one man, they delivered a warning. The era of untouchable political icons is finished. Obama was the last to coast on charisma and cultural worship alone. Today's generation isn't moved by theatrics. They want results. And when Obama's record is put under real scrutiny, it doesn't just falter, it collapses. His presidency wasn't a pinnacle of modern politics. It was proof that style can smother substance, a case study in how image can eclipse reality. And now, with the myth stripped bare, what remains is the uncomfortable truth. America spent 8 years buying
The word she says about Barack Obama is negative. I can't think of her sitting there just waxing poetic about him, complimenting, he's brilliant, he's a great dad, he was the greatest president, whatever a normal wife of Barack Obama would say. Every time she opines, it's something that reflects poorly on him, how he's insensitive, how he's not a talker, how he doesn't know how to relate to people, he doesn't keep the same schedule as she does, and now we're talking about you can have a...
Leavitt delivered the final blow by setting Obama's polished image against the harsh realities left behind. Students drowning in debt, small towns gutted by economic stagnation, families crushed under rising healthcare costs, and an entire generation promised hope that never arrived. In hindsight, the image of Obama as a transformational leader feels almost cruel, like selling umbrellas in a hurricane and claiming you stopped the rain. Kelly closed with icy precision. Obama wasn't just another politician who failed to deliver, he was the greatest salesman of illusions American politics has ever produced. And like all sales pitches, the magic evaporates once you've heard it before. His presidency was the performance of a lifetime, but every performance ends. And when the curtain drops, reality takes the stage. Together, Kelly and Leavitt didn't just critique a former president, they dismantled a cultural phenomenon. They ripped apart the machinery behind the myth, leaving audiences to question why they ever bought the pitch in the first place. And the deeper they went, the clearer it became. This wasn't the end of tearing down Obama's carefully constructed facade. It was only the beginning.
Boasberg is a Democrat activist. He was appointed by Barack Obama. His wife has donated more than $10,000 to Democrats, and he has consistently shown his disdain for this president and his policies, and it's unacceptable.
You took me right where I wanted to go about the idea that these people are all foreign terrorists, but Judge Boasberg was originally appointed by George W. Bush and then elevated by Barack Obama. I just feel like I should clear that up.
Well, let me just say something to that effect, Garrett. 67% of all of the injunctions in this century have come against
Obama's defenders often retreat to the argument of symbolism. They insist his presence, his ability to inspire, was victory enough. But Kelly and Leavitt refused to let him hide behind symbolism like a security blanket. Symbolism without substance, they argue, is just branding, the political equivalent of a celebrity perfume line. Obama wasn't a movement. He was a product launch, marketed with the same gloss as a new iPhone, and like the latest gadget, once the shine wore off, what remained were glitches, bugs, and empty promises of updates that never arrived. Kelly exposed the gap between his outsider persona and the reality of an administration stacked with Wall Street bankers, Silicon Valley moguls, and DC power brokers. Leavitt twisted the knife, pointing out the irony. The man who campaigned on breaking the system ended up supercharging it. Together, they stripped away the veneer of novelty and revealed Obama for what he was: not a disruptor, but a well-dressed placeholder who kept the establishment running.
Well, if you add it all up, even the year, if the odds were you're going to be married to your partner for 50 years and 10 of those years could be bad,
You'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
Right. And that's really how it works out.
Is it, Michelle? It's not. I've been married for 17 and a half years and not one was bad. I think she and he married the wrong people.
Of course, was Obama's greatest accomplice. Kelly had no patience for the endless fawning, the magazine covers that crowned him like a messiah, the interviews that played more like coronations than journalism. Leavitt drove the point further. This wasn't just embarrassing, it was dangerous. When a free press turns into a PR department, accountability dies. Obama skated past scrutiny, shielded from hard questions that could have exposed the gap between his rhetoric and his results. The media didn't just build the myth, they protected it. Kelly and Leavitt tore that curtain wide open. Look at Obama's legacy without the media's filter, and the cracks are glaring. Foreign policy, a string of blunders dressed up as strategy. Healthcare, a half measure that created more confusion than clarity. Race relations, lofty promises of unity that gave way to deeper divides. Even his legendary charisma, once stripped of teleprompter polish, revealed a man more comfortable performing than government